Hi guys, I hope you're good since last video. So this time we're gonna be trying the new GPT-Engineer. So let's go and start straight away. Go into the Git repository. So here it is, GPT-Engineer is made to be easy to adapt, extend and make your agent learn how. So it's an agent, simple way to use. There's a step from .py. Okay, for the feedback, install the requirement, get a GPT-4 access, OpenAI key. So the folder's main prompt. Okay, the file is in the project folder. And after we need to copy that one. So that's how we create the prompt. And after there's a command to run that folder. That's good. Generate the project in the workspace. So there will be a workspace folder at the end. That's where the output will be. Editing. Identities. Okay, so there's a step.py file. Identity, so identity folder. So let's check that really quickly. Here, that's for Python and Node.js. Just to give you instructions, and here is the file where you will get instruction for the code to write. You will write a very long answer. This is where you put the instruction for the agent. Then you will output the content of each file with syntax below. And after the syntax here, there's a format of how the syntax should look like. So the folders are in a bracket. Okay. So you will start with the entry point file. Then go to the ones that are important. So you can read this if you want to understand how it works. I'm just going through the files with you. Here's the project sample and the main prompt. That's where we put the prompt. Okay. The requirement. Okay, the requirement. There's not many stuff to install. Different folders to check. Let's check here. Okay. So here the main.py. So how does this program works? You can go through this main.py into the GPT-Engineer folder. That's the prompt, the assistant, the model, GPT-4. So that's the request made to the OpenAI API. So we're going to go into the website, OpenAI API, and get an API key. So that's part of the requirements. Here I'm just going to log in. So let me grab my code. Here we go. So we choose the API. So the ChatGPT, DALL-E API. And after here, we're going to go into the top right options and find the API key. View API keys. Here we got API keys, and we're going to create a new one for this tutorial. Create a new secret key. We're going to name it. Very easy. We're just going to name it GPT-Engineer. We create the key. I'm just hiding the key. I'm going to use it. We create a virtual environment for the project. Okay, we're in the virtual environment. So from here we can start all the installations. So we're not going to make the directory. I'm just going to clone the repository directly because it's called the GPT-Engineer. So we're going to get that folder. I'm just going to install Git. I'll just use a VM, which is a new VM. I'll be using it for some other tutorials. So we install Git just to be able to download this repo. We clone it. We got it. It's good. And then we go into the folder. Those are the file. We're going to install the requirements. So the option is R with pip. So pip is going to get all the requirements and all the dependencies, those requirements. To take care of this, we're going to export the OpenAI API key that we got before. So I'm going to create a variable, say equal to, and put the API key and just press enter. So you're not going to see the rest, but that's what I'm going to do. So now we set for the project, and now we need to go and create the prompt. We are going to navigate to the project folder. Here, example, there's a main prompt. Just going to make a directory and give it a name. And that will be the directory that I'm going to use to launch the prompt. Inside this directory, I'm going to add the prompt file. And inside the file, I'm going to put the prompt. So that's how it works. So we make the directory Flask daily task tracker. So we copy the example main prompt into our new folder. And we're just going to go inside it. We're going to delete the initial prompt. And now we're going to put ours. So to test, just make it a bit complicated, so you can test different things. We want to build a daily tracker using Flask and Python and Jinja 2. Database is SQLite, and we want to be able to launch it where the user can log in easily. The user then will have a page where he will be able to enter dates and tasks. Each date, those tasks and the date will be played in a professional and modern UX UI interface with the option to update the tasks, to delete the tasks, so like a normal CRUD. They will be able also to have the option to evaluate how long it took to complete the task. Another feature is the ability for the user to toggle a button and say if the task is complete or not. The app will have a dashboard that will display how many tasks are done, how many are not, with a graph or bar chart, or any way to display it professionally and statistically. And performances here are measured on how long it took to complete a task, if it was yes or no, in the right time frame. Also, the user have the option to enter an OpenAI API key to be able to have suggestions from ChatGPT on how to improve his productivity. OpenAI API key will have access to the daily tasks description, the statistics, and the dates, and all for it to provide accurate information to increase productivity. Here is the prompt. I made the prompt very detailed and complicated. And here Python 3 -m GPT-Engineer.main. So we go into the folder and we get the main.py that we've seen before, and we put the name of our folder. So it's going to find the prompt, and let's see how it's going to describe it first. So prompt description and features, program description and features. So this is the prompt here. And after we have the feature, user authentication, add update and delete tasks, assign dates on to tasks, make task as complete or incomplete, evaluate the time required to complete task, dashboard displaying task statistics, complete, not completed, performance, integration with OpenAI API key for productivity suggestion. And now it's going to start creating the functions. So the user, the task, and the performance. And in this class, is going to define the different methods that will be needed. So register user, login, add a task, update, delete, toggle task completion, calculate the performance. So it's going to break down the prompt into different units and define what is needed for each unit. Here we go, we have the requirement done. So method and functions, dependencies, additional files, requirement.txt, the templates, the static files. So we got the requirement and it starts writing the code into the files. So the test, also the unit tests are done. And here is app.py, that's the main, the core of our application. That's where everything will be, the database connection and also the application creation and the different routes definition, different paths used to access different parts of the application. So we created the classes here for the database, and after he created some functions that he's going to use after. So there's a function that he created to register user, login user, add a task. That's all the functions created. And he's going to use those as needed in the different routes. The password is hashed. That's good. Okay, keep producing some code. That's the application route. Here, completion, calculate the performance. Okay, so we can see that he gives us very common code that we see. We can see that it's just normal code, and there might be even missing parts. But, let's see. Return suggestions. Strip functions. So it's going to take a few seconds. I believe it's already done, but I'm just going to go through and see the different routes. That's the dashboard route, the login, the add task route, the update tasks. The ID looks good. And here, running the application, the templates. This is the HTML file. Okay, the proper Jinja inside to define the routes and the links. Another template, the dashboard, login. Here we get the template register, the dashboard. Okay, it's still processing, so we're gonna just follow what he's doing and see how it's going to be at the end. So we're trying to have a realistic view on this GPT Engineer and the different future from the first go, what is going to be able to produce. And at the end, we're going to just give our conclusions on this new agent. So here we can see it's creating the files. We're just going to go into the not benchmark. Let's see, it's workspace. No, not here. So this is the normal files. That's what I downloaded. So here it tried to launch the application at the end, but couldn't run the app. Section error. Okay. So we got some little bit of issues. And I can also see that we got the templates, but I don't see the statics files. He tried to create a virtual environment also. Okay, so this is 3 cents. Okay, 3 cents. That's the maximum that can be, because I forgot to check what was my current usage before using this agent. So you need to check before, but I'm just gonna say that it's 3 cents for GPT-4, and that's possible because GPT-4 is the most expensive model. And here we can see that we need to change the names of the folders because he had followed the template. You remember before we went into the GitHub repository to check the template, and he put the file names and folders on the brackets. So I had some work to do. So that's normal that you can't run the application if the templates are all in brackets. So you might consider changing this syntax and get rid of the brackets. Maybe put I don't know, just like a string markup. Okay, I'm just gonna fast forward this. So I've been able to change all the file names. So the files have been created. They are in the right folders. Okay, so let's see the second part. Here, I'm gonna check the requirements, main prompt. So this is not the requirement of the application. So we don't see any requirement created. Just gonna go through, check here, memory. So all the output, the console output has been saved. So that's what we got before. You see, that's all the output that we got before. I'm in the memory folder, and we got the logs. I'm just checking the logs. It's good to know where the logs are, because when you want to get the code here, like for example, it didn't create the requirement.txt. So I need to go through this one, logs, gens. So into the workspace, that's where all the code is. So the folder, is the folder where I put the prompt. Inside there will be a new folder called the workspace. I'm going to create requirement.txt inside in the workspace. And here I'm going to go into the logs and identify where was the requirement for this application. Now I got them. So I can create this requirement.txt and try to install it. Statics files, because I haven't seen static files, but we don't have anything about statics files. So just let me try to create the virtual environment, because it couldn't create the virtual environment for this application. I need to install Python for the 3.10. So here we enter into we activate the virtual environment for the application, install the requirements. Now we try to run the application. We got an error, so it's not running. So there's some the requirement.txt is not complete. They are missing packages. Example here, Wagzog is missing. So we need to change the requirement.txt. So I've been through that file, and that's how it looks after. And before it was like that. Just you can screenshot this. Now we can install the requirements.txt. We got all the requirements to run the application. Fast run. Doesn't run. Outside of the application. So it said with app context. So the database is trying to run the application, to connect at the beginning to be able to work, but the application is not launched properly. So we didn't create actually the context. So the context has to be created. So I'll go into the app.py, and just before the database variable, put app_context .push. So the database will be able to use this app. So basically we launch the app, and after the database is able to use it. Okay, let's save this. Let's try again. Now it's running on port 5000. Just gonna put a comment here. Make sure to call this first for the app to create before database starts. To avoid any error, just make it short. So, if you want to draw some conclusions, I had to do the requirement.txt by myself. We can say also, I'm not going to write it, but statics files, they haven't been created. The file naming wasn't correct because of the template. So we got all the file names on the brackets. We are missing some dependencies also that we had to add to the requirement. The virtual environment hasn't been created. So in the description was perfect, but in the output we didn't get all the files that we wanted. We got an error because he couldn't create the environment variable, the environment, the virtual environment. And also in the code we got some errors. So the error here was that the application hasn't been created before the database would be able to use it. So it is not perfect, but there's something good about it, is that you can use it as a nice boilerplate to get all the files, a minimum of files created, and after you just go and put the right dependencies, you change the template, according to what you want. And here, when I run it, I get here to create a user register, for example. See, because there's no statics file, it's very raw. And here I still got an error, so I might need to dig into the code to see why it's not. You see here it says that it's missing. The login user is missing one positional argument, which is password. So you need after to go through the code and make it work, which is possible. So I think it's nice to have such a tool, but I believe that you need to go into the code. I hope that you like this video, so we're gonna stop here. Thank you and see you next time.